have the Yankees done this offseason to actually make themselves
What have they
better?
done in the last 20 years?
The last 20. Well, they did win a World Series in 2009. I mean,
2009.
It's one more than the Rays, so keep that in mind.
2009.
Yeah, it was 2009. You asked the question, well, what have they done over the last 20 years? I gave you an answer.
2009.
Yeah, 2009.
Long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. We'd love to get back, but
Didn't you say
Joe?
Doug Sarava.
Doug. Joe and Doug. Awesome. My name's Daniel.
Less concerned with the draft. I don't give a shit who the top 10 prospects are. I don't care. I couldn't care less. The Devils need to move in a different direction. They need to bring in guys that can play with Jack and Nico now. Now.
We have to. All right, we are back on the Doug Saravo Show. I have Austin Schoening via telephone to discuss the New Jersey Devils. We are at the 60-game mark. Devils are looking pretty bad, don't you think, Austin, besides Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt?
Probably not the best. I think he was better than what we talked last time, like the halfway point of the season.
Yeah, the halfway point.
So after we talked last time, they kind of went on a little bit of a run where they played, pretty well for a while, and then, the last week or so, it's kind of been going the other way again. Encouraging individual performances. You don't see the team results yet, but individually, we're starting to see the players that are going to be part of the core start to shine, which was the point of this season. But you definitely would have liked them to push for a playoff spot later in the year. Obviously, they're very far out of it, and they've been out of it since December. But individually, we have some bright spots for sure.
All right, let's start with Jesper Bratt. You talked about, I think it was the first episode where you said you want to see him get to that 60-point mark. He leads the team in points. He has 65 points in 61 games, 22 goals, 43 assists. How important was it for him to have this season besides before you say goodbye, Jesper?
Yeah, I believe I said that if he wasn't hovering in that 50 to 60 point range, like I was ready to move on from him. I think the reason why I said that is that you knew that a player of his caliber had the potential to do what he's doing this year. We've seen it. A couple of years he started off hot and then slow down, or he would start off slow and then pick it up towards the end. His rookie year was obviously hot out of the gate and then slow down. And then the year before COVID, he was started slow, but then before the COVID pause, he started to pick it up. He's had a fantastic year. I think that it was important for the Devils to see that this is a core piece. The Devils are very deficient in wingers, and it's good to see that they do look like they have a top 6 winger of the future in Jesper Bratt. And then also for him financially, it was really important because he was taken to task by Fitzgerald last time, and you didn't get a contract that was all that great last time because he was a player that underperformed for a couple of years. But we're probably going to see him get a pretty significant extension at the end of the year.
What would you say that pay range will be between?
It's a good question. I'm not 100. I want to say you'd like to see it under $7 million. I think you can get away with that. Jack Hughes obviously was in the $8 million range when he signed his extension. Jesper obviously was not a first overall pick. He's also not a center. So I think that you probably can sneak that in around the 7 range. I think if it's 7 or less, I think it's an absolute win. I wouldn't be surprised if it was even in the 7.5 range. He's a good player. He's young. He's dynamic. He works really well with Jack. He works really well with Nico. Those are your 2 franchise players. You know that you could kind of be interchangeable between the 2. So he's going to work with either of them. So obviously it's a very important piece. But I would like to see him signed to as long as they possibly can. I want to avoid a bridge deal. I don't want to see anything 3 to 5 years. Definitely the full 8-year extension. Hopefully.
Yeah, especially the way he stepped up this year. That shows we have a bright future ahead of us. Besides all the mishaps earlier in the season.
Yeah, he was pretty consistent after. I believe one of the first games he got sat this year. One of the first ones he got benched, and then he's been their most consistent player all year. Jack's been really good too, obviously, but he went on a little bit of a burner for a while, which is where his points came from. But Jesper has been pretty consistent the entire year. This is exactly what we want to see from him. I mean, he's over a point per game. You're hoping that if they continue it up, we have I think 16 games left.
Yeah, we're at
so
the. I think we're at the 66 game mark.
Yeah, 66. So there's 16 games left. You're going to figure that he's going to be hovering around that point per game pace throughout the next 16 games. So no, you really couldn't have asked for more than him. Like let's just say about 30 goals, 50 assists. That's an elite level player. It's good to see that he was able to get to that next step, because I think we've seen that in him for a couple of years now, but he hasn't been able to get to it. But it looks like we're there now, and hugely he can continue this throughout the rest of his career.
All right, another guy that you were talking about reached the 60-point mark was our captain, Nico Hischier. He's currently at 47 points in 57 games, 18 goals, 29 assists. Is this what you want to see from Nico in 57 games? And do you think hitting a 30-goal mark within the next few years is going to be a key part for this franchise?
I think him getting around 30 goals is probably something that he will do a couple of times. I don't think he's going to be consistent at 30 goals. He's definitely shot the puck more this year. He's dominated offensively more than he has in the past. Based on his stats right now, over an 82-game pace, that is 67 points. That is, I asked for 60, and his per game rate right now is 67. And that's also if you take into fact that he went what do you have, 3 goals in the first 21 games or something like that?
Yeah, he wasn't lighting up the score sheet.
He wasn't lighting up the score sheet, and he's also played with bums the entire year for the most part too. When Jack was he was playing. Some of these guys have had good years, but in 2022, playing with Jimmy Vesey pretty consistently for a top 6 center for your a number 1 overall pick. That's probably not setting him up for success, but he did well with it. And if you look at his last, he's been over a point per game player his last 20-25 games. He's been really, really good. If this is what we're going to see, if this is what his career's going to continue to be, what we've seen the last 25-30 games, I think you'd be very happy with that. He's gotten way too much hate. He's not going to be Jack Hughes offensively. He's not going to be Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews. That's not the kind of player he ever was going to be. And I think we can pretty matter-of-factly say that now. He's probably not going to be a point per game player too many years. But he's solid. He's very consistent. If he can fill in as a consistent second line center, I think that I think a lot of teams would sign up for someone of his caliber to be their second line center for their prime of their career. He's been really, really good. Very solid 2-way game, and I really couldn't have asked much more from him this year, all things considered. Considering he started off slow and also hasn't had ideal line mates for most of the year, which is something that has to be addressed in the offseason, obviously, either through free agency or bringing up a couple of guys that have a little bit of offensive pop from Utica. That's the next step for the Devils. The wingers need to be improved.
Yeah, because a lot of people, like you can see it on Facebook, Twitter, a Devil fan group, they talk about how Nico isn't like Sidney Crosby. He doesn't put up all these goals. But what Nico does have is he's a dirty player. He gets into the spots, the places that many people may not get into. So how do
Yeah,
you
he
feel
does.
how do you feel about Nico as that type of player?
Well, he always works his ass off, and I think that's exactly what you want to see in a captain. If he's like I said mentioned earlier, he's on pace for about 67 over 82. If he's in that 60 to 70 point range throughout the rest of his career, you really couldn't ask for much more than that. Have a second line center, someone that gets into the dirty areas, that consistently blocking shots. Like he's already a couple times throughout his career been injured from blocking shots. This guy is not soft for a number one overall pick. That's as offensively gifted as he is. He gets into the dirty areas. I think that's something we all need to move away from now. Is that he was the number one overall pick. You don't want to look at who else was picked in that range because I think it's pointless at this point. I think we should all be very happy with what he does and what he will continue to bring to this team.
Yeah, he's a leader. He may not be putting up 50 goals a year, but you could look at a guy like Sidney Crosby. He's not into the dirty plays, getting into the fiascos. If he gets hit, he's going to complain to the referees. Nico's not like that. Nico's into that stuff.
Yeah, I would probably still take Sidney Crosby though.
Oh, for sure.
I know what the point you're making is, and now that we see that Jack Hughes is probably going to be that elite offensive first line center, I think Nico, being a 60, 70 point player and, being on the penalty kill, getting into the dirty areas, leading by example, I think that's the kind of player we need. Thankfully we have Jack, so Nico doesn't have to be the star offensively on this team, which I think he'll excel in, because I don't think that if we didn't have Jack Hughes and Nico would have, been relied on offensively every night, I think that, there'd be a lot more questioning towards him, but he doesn't have to do that. If he keeps up what he's been doing the last 25, 30 games, you're not going to ask much more at a player like him.
So last Wednesday, the video resurfaced. It came out again. It was at the Rangers draft party when Martin Brodeur, the greatest goaltender of all time, announced from the U.S. developmental program, Jack Hughes. All the Ranger fans were cheering because they got Capo Caco, and we got Jack Hughes. So how thrilled are you that Jack Hughes will be a New Jersey Devils for the next 8 years, posting this season after getting hurt 54 points in 46 games, 24 goals, 30 assists. So who's cheering now, Austin?
Oh yeah, we're definitely the ones cheering. In this case with Jack, I mean, if he didn't get hurt, especially the first 6 games after he got hurt, he wasn't really himself. So you're probably looking at someone that was, if he played the entire year, probably in the 90 to 100 point range, pretty easily. No, you got to be thrilled with what we've seen from him. Also, a lot of people were mocking the Devils earlier this year when they signed him to that 8-year contract. Basically, a lot of the talking heads were like, oh, well, he hasn't done it yet. Why are we paying these guys for, right off the bat before they prove anything? Well, he just shoved it up everyone's face this year. 54 points in 46 games. I believe that's probably in the 95 and 97 point pace. When's the last time we had that with Hall, that 1 year?
Just about.
And then before that, Parise years ago. This is a legitimate elite offensive player. I think that he's going to be a top 5 center in the league very shortly if he isn't already. This is an elite player. All we need to do for him, and mind you, and nothing against Dawson Mercer and Sharon Govich, but he's putting up these points with guys that a lot of other people wouldn't be putting up these points with.
For sure, and I think Jack has the ability to be a 40-goal scorer consistently, posting 90 points. I think the Devils have a star in the making, and they really haven't had that in God knows when.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering, we have the stud in Utica that's going to be probably playing on his wing, sniping for many years in Alex Holtz. Jack is probably going to be pretty consistently in the 90 to 100 point range for the next 8 years at least. throughout his contract. No, it's really good. That was in a really good spot with that. Jack being the contract's going to look like a discount. I mean, if they would have waited till the end of this year, you're probably looking more at the 9 to 10 million range in terms of his contract. Which we want the Devils to be a Stanley Cup contender, and every million or two counts against the cap when you have as many good players as typically the Stanley Cup contenders do. He signed a really good contract, and he's going to be considered underpaid for most of it. No, we definitely lucked out. I don't think the book's written on Kaapo Kakko yet, but I think that we can see we definitely got the better player, no matter what happens to him.
I agree with that, Austin. So those are the three main players I wanted to focus on, which were Jack, Nico, and Jesper. Now I want to talk about your boy. For now, Pavel Zacha. Is he done in New Jersey?
Yeah, he's done. I don't think there's really a spot for him anywhere. I think that I wonder if he didn't get hurt before the trade deadline, if it was more likely that he would have got dealt. It seemed like Vancouver and Montreal were interested in him based on some of the reports that were out there. I'm ready to move on from him. He's not a top 6 player, and I don't think that he is willing to work his ass off or, get in the dirty areas that you need to be able to do as a third or fourth liner. We need to move on from him. That's about it. We've given him a lot of leash for many, many years now. He has 28 points in 56 games. That's about, mid to low 40s, maybe 20-ish goals. It's okay, but we need to do better. I think we can do better, and that we will do better. I don't think that, you can't have two Ferraris like Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier and bring some shitbox to be on the side. Zacha, good luck wherever you go next. Thank you for your time here, but definitely time to move on and to look into the different places. We have guys within the system that can fill in his spot right now. So I'm not really concerned with him going somewhere else and popping off. I think we've seen enough of him.
Yeah, and I'm looking at his numbers. It's like he took a step back this year, and all time he's a negative 62, and that's not gonna cut it.
Yeah. I mean, last year he looked like he might have taken that next step. He led the team in points and I believe goals as well. It just hasn't clicked for him, and I think that I don't think that it will at this point. He's been in the league for 6 years now. When he was playing a lot with Hischier and Bratt. I don't think it's gonna work for him here. Like I said, he's a decent player. He is a decent player. His point totals aren't terrible, but when you look at somebody, you just know that the Devils can do better in their top 6. And like I said, him on a third line, or definitely not a fourth line, but him on a third line where you need to grind it out a little bit. He's not that type of player. He's very soft for 6'3". So, no, definitely time to move on. I think another team will happily take him in their top 6, a team that is lacking on wingers, which we are too, but we need to find better.
So there was a player, and he came out and said that I want to be here. I believe I am part of the solution here, and that is Damon Severson. How important is it for us to extend him, and where do you feel like Damon fits on this organization?
I mean, as a number one defense, I think he's a really good defenseman on a second pairing. He's played really good this year. He's put up a lot of points too. 37 points in 64 games. That's pretty damn good for a defenseman. Especially one that for a majority of the season wasn't getting on the top power play because Hamilton was there. This is it would be important to sign him. If you look at the point totals, him and Hampus Lindholm, who just got signed, I believe it was 8 years, $6.5 million, or was it 7 years in Boston?
Yeah, I think it was eight and a half.
Yeah, eight and 6.5, I think, right?
Yeah.
That's probably a contract that you probably look. I don't know if it'll be 8 years, But it could be 8 years. But that $6.5 million range, I think that's pretty spot on for him. He's a really solid player. If you trade him, you need to be getting excellent value. I think that next year we're ready to push for a playoff spot. If you get rid of him, you're significantly worse right off the bat. So I never saw the point in getting rid of him unless we got a ridiculous offer. I thought maybe it was possible that one of the teams that were hungry for a defenseman, one of the playoff contenders this year, maybe would overpay for him with first round. Like I wouldn't have taken, if I wasn't getting a first round pick, an NHL player, and one of the top prospects in the organization, I wouldn't even consider trading him. He's a really, really good player. He's very solid. I think the gaffes, he's definitely gaff prone. I think that just gets talked about a little bit too much. They don't happen that often, and they look bad. So people obviously will mock him for that. But he's a really good player. He's been consistent for us for many years, and I think now that we have Dougie, he's gonna be slotted correctly on this team. He's not a first pairing defenseman on a playoff team. I definitely think he's a second pairing defenseman, and I think it would be wise for Fitzgerald to extend him, and I think he could probably see that this team's ready to go off. So it'd probably be good for him too.
All right, so we still have PK Subban. He's a free agent next year. $9 million right now. Would you take him back if it's like in the $2 million, $4 million range?
No, I think it's time to move on from him as well. I don't think he's played particularly bad. I just think that there's younger guys in the system that we can utilize on the third pairing as opposed to PK. Yeah, no, he's been, his first year was the worst one by far. He's been okay the second and third year. I think once we realized that he was not the player that we thought we traded for, everyone's been a little bit calmer towards him. But no, I don't think, I'm not particularly interested in bringing him back at any price. I think that there's a couple guys in the AHL that can come up and play third pairing minutes, and we can see what we have. He's not part of the future, PK, so I don't have any interest in bringing him back.
And it's mostly because he's past his prime. If this was a PK from 5 years ago when he was in Montreal,
yeah,
of course,
no, that would have been, yeah, definitely. I think he's past his prime, and I think that PK's issue is that he's not a great skater, and I think as you get older, you can't, the game is sped up so much from when he was in his prime, so he's not able to keep up with guys now. Even on the third pairing, listen, he could be a good third pairing defenseman somewhere. I just think that in the double situation where we're looking to be younger and we're looking to be faster, and I don't think he fits in with the style of play that the Devils have nowadays. So again, he was okay the last 2 years. The first year he was pretty brutal. The last 2 years, he's been okay, but I think we have players in the system that can fill in for him right away.
All right, so let's talk about our starting goaltender at the moment. Nico Dors. He is 8-8 in 18 games, goals against over 3. Do you feel like this is a guy that can compete for this spot with Mackenzie Blackwood if everything works well with Mackenzie? Or do you think the Devils are going to go out and try again to sign a veteran goalie? I would assume the favorite could be Braden Holtby from what I see. Or do you think it's going to be Blackwood and Dors moving forward?
I think the Devils will sign a veteran goaltender. I'm not interested in Braden Holtby at all. Again, that's just more age related. The quickest way for the Devils to be good would be for Mackenzie Blackwood to be the goaltender that I think a lot of us thought he was. He didn't play well this year, but we know now that he had some pretty severe heel issues and was probably playing injured for the entire year. Nico Dawes, I think he has filled in nicely. I think that he looks better to us than he really has been because John Gillies was a disaster. Terrible. If you look at the stats, if the Devils had an average goaltender this year, we'd be probably really close to pushing for that 8th spot. We probably would miss out, but we'd be much closer than we are now.
Yeah, we would.
So it's definitely very important for the Devils to address goaltender. I think Nico Dawes has been okay for a 21-year-old. I mean, most NHL goaltenders nowadays, you're not really giving them a consistent heavy workload until they're 23, 24, 25. I mean, look at Shesterkin. He was a rookie when he was 25.
Unless you're Marty.
Unless you're Marty. Yeah, exactly. And that doesn't really happen nowadays. Goalies take time. So it's important for the Devils because drafting a goaltender usually takes 4 or 5 years for them to become a starter after their draft year, and you're already digging into a lot of these players' primes. So it's important for the Devils to either find someone via a trade, via a free agent signing, or hopefully, and I think the easiest way to rectify this would be for Blackwood to play well. I think he's still capable of it. I think that when Blackwood is fully healthy next year, I do think it's very important, one, for one of the guys in the AHL to be at training camp, to push either that be Schmid or Dawes. And I think it's also important that we sign a legitimate veteran goaltender to push as well. Obviously Crawford retired. That sucked. Bernier, I thought played okay when he, maybe wasn't in the groove, and then obviously had the injury. He's not going to be relevant next year. He has the same injury that pretty much knocked out Corey Schneider's career. So I'm not even, over 30 goaltender with a hip injury. I'm not even, that's it. Moving on. Definitely important to get some goaltending in here. And I think that's why, I always, it sucks to see Dawes get worked into the ground like this, because it's not fair of him to really even be up here right now.
No, it's not.
But it's not fair. But, these guys, you have guys like Bratt and Hughes and Hischier and Mercer's playing so well this year, and they're not getting rewarded because no matter what they do, the guy in the creases letting up 4, 5, 6, 7 goals a night. And that was what was happening with Gillies. Gillies was getting thrashed every night. So they didn't really have a shot unless they were scoring 7 goals. The Devils' offense has been really, really good this year. And I don't think people realize that. The offense has been legitimately good this year. And the defense hasn't been that bad either. It's the goaltending's been horrendous. So it's very important. Hopefully Blackwood will be healthy. I think that, it's definitely important to bring another veteran. I haven't scoured too much, who's going to be available. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, we're probably looking at another top 5 pick. I can't think of a goaltender I'd want to trade a top 5 pick for. I would be open to trading that pick depending on where it landed for something. If something of value, be it, whether it be a veteran goal scorer or a goaltender. But I don't know. It's going to be really important for them to figure that out, because I think this team's ready to start moving along now. Especially considering the fact that next year you're going to have Holtz. The year after that, you'll probably have Luke. There's going to be a lot of significant pieces coming in here in the next couple of years that are going to be ready to go. So we need to figure out the crease.
All right,
otherwise, you're doing a disservice.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I want to know how you feel about this, because this is how I feel. So we know how Blackwood felt about the vaccine. We know how he was playing injured with his hip, trying to figure out if he needed surgery or something like that in the beginning of training camp. But I always felt like he was placed in a situation where he shouldn't have been too early. Because going into that season, I think it was 18-19 or 19-20, Corey was supposed to be the guy. It was supposed to be Corey as the starter and Blackwood the backup.
Yeah, that was 1920. Yeah, that was 1920. That was the game where Corey got injured right off the bat.
We had the Winnipeg game.
The Winnipeg game. Corey got hurt right away.
We were leading 4-0, and we lose 5-4 in a shootout. Schneider went down to injury, and Blackwood basically became the starter. So would you say that he was placed in a situation where he wasn't really supposed to be the guy just yet?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think that can be argued. I think similar to what's happening with Dawes right now, just by necessity, they had to play Blackwood. They ran him into the ground last year. He was playing all the time because they didn't have a legitimate backup. And I think that's why you see the teams that perform well throughout the year, except if you're the Rangers, because Gorgiev is terrible. But Well, I guess when you have Shesterkin, you make up for it. But you need to have legitimate. You need to have two legitimate goaltenders nowadays. You know, it's not the days of Marty where you know your goaltenders be playing 65, 70 games. You need to have a legitimate backup goaltender to play 30, 35 games. And the Devils haven't had that in several years now. Schneider never had a good backup. When Kincaid started playing well, Schneider was not playing well. So, you know, we haven't had a good 1-2 punch, you know, probably since 11-12 with Marty and Hedberg.
Yeah, Marty and Moose. That was it.
Yeah. So that's probably the last time that we had a solid 1-2 punch.
Unless you consider Marty and Corey in 13-14.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true. That's true too. That was a pretty good 1-2 punch, but that was mostly Corey. Marty didn't play well that year.
Yeah.
But no. Yeah. We really haven't had it. That's definitely something that needs to be figured out. You need Blackwood to hopefully be a quality starter. And two, you need someone to back him up that's going to be playing well too.
Yeah, because goaltending is the most important position in hockey. If you look at it, look at these teams that win the Stanley Cups. They had great goaltending.
Yeah. They always have great goaltending. I mean, if you look at the Rangers too, you know, if you look at their numbers, they're not like a quarter of the team that they are without the way that Shesterkin plays. Like, you know, if you threw on, you know, two average goaltenders on them, like where would they be? They'd probably be fighting for a playoff spot right now instead of fighting for a division. So you can see how important goaltending is. And, you know, as Devils fans, we didn't have to worry about goaltending for a very, very long time.
No, we didn't. We had Marty.
Yeah, it's a little strange and then after Marty, we had 3 really good years of Corey before he got hurt. So, you know, we never really had to worry about this. It was mostly the offense that we had to worry about.
Yeah, that's all we were talking about was goals for Corey. When are we going to score?
Yeah, goals for Corey. Yeah, if we had Corey Schneider now of you know 7 years ago, we'd probably be a playoff team.
Can you recall the backups that Marty had?
Oh, a couple of them. The best one was Scott Clemenson probably for a long time. Chris Terreri back in the 90s. Clemenson, Jan Denis.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Was the backup.
Kevin Weeks.
Hedberg was the Kevin Weeks. Yeah, Kevin Weeks was Kevin Weeks was the backup to Marty when he got hurt that year, and then they brought up Clemenson from the AHL, and then Clemenson wound up stealing the show that one year, and then wound up getting a contract in Florida. No, I mean, yeah, you know, they haven't had, you know, they didn't really need to worry about that. They knew Marty was going to play 60 games. You know, just plug someone in, and the Devils had good teams back then. So you would survive with the backup playing, you know, 10 to 15 games.
Yeah, Hedberg.
Hedberg, Clemenson, Weeks, Denis, Terreri back in the day. Ari Ohonen, I think that was his name. I forgot. It's been such a long time. That was a really long one. That's the game's different now. The game's very different now. So, you know, you need to have a backup goaltender that can play anywhere from 30 to 35 games at least.
So we have our core in place. We got Dougie, we got Hughes, we got Nico, we got Jesper, you could add in Severson, Mercer. What is that one piece that this team is missing that, you know, you could say, you know what, we might go all the way this year?
I think we're missing goaltender. I think we are missing a legitimate goal-scoring winger. I think that Jack and Jesper are just really good players that they just happen to score goals. I don't think they're goal scorers. I think that's going to be what Holtz winds up being. I think that they need someone to be a consistent 30 goal scorer like Paul Murray was for us for a while. And then probably another defenseman on the back end. Hamilton, Severson, great, and Siegenthaler was really good this year too. That was a good surprise that he's been as good as he was. They could probably use another guy in the back end. Hopefully Ty Smith picks it up next year. Otherwise, you know, we might be having a different conversation about him at some point too. I think the biggest glaring issue is goaltender, and I think second after that is a legitimate sniper, and I think that's Holtz. But hopefully, I think bringing up Holtz, it will be important. I think, either through free agency or trade, I think getting another guy that can score consistently will be important, because right now, you have Jack, you have Nico, you have Bratt, and then I think Mercer will stick at wing for a while now. Sharon Govich has played okay this year. I'm not totally sold on him being a top 6 player. I think that, again, I think he could do better. And he plays in the dirty areas as opposed to Zaka, so he's someone that could succeed on the third line and score goals. I think that you need to look at bringing up Holtz next year, obviously, and then maybe via trade or free agency, bringing in somebody that can play with you, Jack or Nico.
All right, so if Orson Schoening was general manager of this team, what does he do on draft day? And what does he, or even days before the draft, if it's a good pick, you know what, I'm going to call up this GM and say, I'll give you this for that guy. And what would he do on free agency?
Well, I think that, in terms of the pick, I think the Devils have made enough picks, unless they somehow, if they fall into the first pick again, obviously you'll pick the player, or if worse comes to worse, if we have a top 5 pick and we have to actually make a pick, this is a player that can eventually be included in a trade. I don't really know exactly who I go after. I don't really know who's available. We never usually know until the reports start coming out. It's hard to trade for young guys with term. That would be the most important thing. I'm not trading for anybody like in Hall's situation where we had him for 3 years and then lost him on to free agency, or we traded him before he got to free agency because he wasn't going to sign here. You want someone within the age range of our prime, so I would say no more than 26, 27 with term. That's who I would consider trading for if we wind up having a top 5 pick. In terms of free agency, depending on
Let's call him back. Austin.
Oh, okay. Might have lost you for a second there.
Yeah, it happens. Verizon.
Okay. Yeah. So I was saying in terms of free agency, are you familiar with any of the free agents this year? I know Forsberg is a free agent, but I don't think that's.
I know Malkin is one. I know you got a lot of goalies out there.
Yeah.
They could pull.
Yeah,
up.
the best one, the most interesting one would be Forsberg, but I think the money's going to be a lot for him. I don't think he's a guy that's worth $8 million, which I think he might command on the market.
I mean, you got Giroux, Kessel, Letang, Bergeron, Kessler, Gaudreau, Radulov, Eriksson.
Yeah, I'm not interested really in any of them. The only one I'd be interested in, is Gaudreau a free agent already? Isn't that next year, or is it this year?
Yeah, it says this year UFA.
Oh well, if he's a UFA this year, he's a really good player and he's been fantastic this year. But we have enough guys on the smaller side, so I would probably go in a different direction. I think we have our core pieces. I think we're more looking for fill-in players. I'm not really particularly interested in signing somebody, $7, $8, $9, $10 million from free agency. We did that last year with Dougie, which we desperately needed on the back end. I think we need some fill-in players, guys that can play. Jack's going to make anyone he plays with better, so I'm not really looking to bring in somebody that, I'm not looking to bring in somebody 8, 9, 10 million, because we're going to eventually get into cap trouble if we do that.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think it's definitely important to bring in a veteran goaltender to back up or to start over McKenzie if he doesn't play well next year. And then I definitely think it's always good to add another defenseman if they don't think one of the guys from the AHL already. Obviously, you're going to be losing PK, and definitely think adding a top 6 winger would be a priority.
So these are the free agents for goalie-wise. You got Fleury, you got Koskinen, you got Darcy Kemper, Thomas Greiss, Yarrow Halak, Jonas Corposello, Corey Schneider, Braden Holtby, Marty Jones, Jack Campbell, David Riddick, Casey DeSmith, Phoenix Copley, Colin D'Elia, Brian Elliott is one that would probably be a good backup or even starter.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of those really pop out. I think they're either too old or been consistent. Goalies nowadays, like how many goalies are really consistent every single year? You get about 5, 6 good years out of them, then it seems like they fall off a cliff nowadays.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just throwing darts at a dartboard with a blindfold on. You're gonna have to try one of those guys out. Hopefully you pick the right one. But in terms of that, there's no one that really sticks out to me that I'm like, oh, that's definitely the guy. I was like that with Crawford 2 years ago. That was definitely the guy I was interested in. Obviously didn't work out, but out of that list, I know a lot of people are interested in Corpusala, but I mean, he's been pretty terrible this year.
Yeah, he hasn't really been decent.
No, none of those guys really stick out to me. I'd have to look at it more, but no, you're gonna have to sign one of them.
Yeah, if we want the whole thing is we want McKenzie to be healthy, so it's like,
yeah,
what do we
like
do?
I've been saying it all year is that the best way for the Devils to get better at goaltending is for Blackwood to play to the ability that we think he can.
So with everything going on, I'm sure you've been getting phone calls. When does Austin Schoening renew Devil tickets?
Renew Devils tickets? I don't know. See, just from a well, one, I work in Newark right now, but I'm not in there every day. So the thing with the Devils that frustrated me when I've had season tickets a couple times now, obviously, but it sucks when you go to a game against the Vegas Golden Knights on a Tuesday and you know that you're paying about $39 a game averaged out, and then you can get them on StubHub for $6.
Yeah.
That's what sucks. That's the part that sucks. And I don't know how many of you've sold or you've looked at, but it seems to me that lately the only ones that are worth money that you can make a little bit of money on are the home opener and the games against the Rangers.
Yeah, that's if you're like a seller, those are the games.
If you're a seller, yeah, like that's what I definitely would be, because there is some incentives. I don't know if it's changed. I know that you have the 9 buybacks that you can then apply to next year.
It was 6.
It was 6.
Yeah, and now they're bringing it to 8.
Oh, because the last time I did it was 9. When I did it in 1920, it was 9. And now you're saying it's.
Oh, you know what probably happened? Because I just bought back 2 games because I got to work and I have an event. It said 2 of 6 to buy back, so maybe that's probably the amount of home games that are left. That was.
Oh yeah.
So that's probably why.
Yeah, that's probably why. Unless it changed.
Yeah, I don't know.
The last time I did it, it was 9, and then you could sell 15, and then you wind up going to, what is that? That's 24, and so you wind up going to about 20ish. I don't see myself doing it right now. It's probably a good time to get in on it, because you probably in 5 years the tickets are definitely going to be more expensive than they are now.
Well, my price went down, so.
Yeah, well, your price should have went down.
Yeah, well, I've been there for 10 years. I know people that got phone calls from a rep, and I think they were going to pay like $3,000 more than I do. So I think it varies on how long you're there for.
Yeah, it varies on how $3,000 more for one ticket or for the 2.
For 2, or
for 2,
I don't know how many.
$3,000 more for 2. Yeah, mine was in 1920. Mine was $1,700 for 1. Which really isn't that bad, but they're probably going to start jacking them up because they know that the team's moving in the right direction. So if you are someone that's interested in having Devil season tickets at some point, probably this year's probably going to do it. And then if they're not great just yet, next year to sell a good amount of them. But that's the crappy thing about being in a smaller market like New Jersey, is that you need to go to the games. You're not going to make a lot of return on your investment. And who the hell wants to sell the games against the Rangers? You want to go to those
I
games.
don't. I lost my voice when
exactly.
I went last week. It was great.
Yeah, you want to go to those games. I'm hoping to go to the one next Tuesday because I still have some money on my account from the COVID year. I haven't been since the home opener because I haven't really felt the need to go down there. But yeah, that's the part that sucks about it, is that if you want to make some money back, you have to sell the ones that you probably want to go to, either being the games against the Rangers.
Penguins,
I know that.
Flyers.
Yeah, the Penguins. But not even the Flyers anymore. The Flyers, that fan base is down the dumps right now because they've been terrible for a couple of years. When I sold my ticket, I think there was a game against the Bruins on New Year's Eve that they wanted to shoot out, that I was able to make a little bit of money on, and then Chicago. Usually you're able to make a little bit of money on too, because they have a big national fan base. That's what it seems to be, though, is the home opener and a couple games here and there. But the thing that sucks is that when you play the Columbus Blue Jackets on a Thursday, you could probably get them on StubHub for $10.
Yeah.
Which, that's the unfortunate part about it. But if you're going to get Devil season tickets, definitely do the 9 buybacks for the games you don't want to make it out to, so you can apply it to your account next year. But you need to go to most of them if you want to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, well, you can always make money on the playoffs, but I don't want to miss a playoff game.
Yeah, exactly. And who wants to do that? Who wants to?
Yeah, who's going to miss the playoffs?
Do that? Yeah, I mean, and mind you, even when the Devils were playing well with Kovalchuk and Parise and Brodeur and Elias, I mean, you could still get tickets for $6 on a weekday game. So I don't know if they're ever going to be a hot ticket on the weekdays. So that's just something you have to know going into it. But there are, I don't think the incentives are fantastic. I mean, I don't know if you disagree with that, but I mean, you get the signing. What do you get? You get some merchandise discounts.
Yeah,
right?
Discounts. Sometimes they give you like a food voucher. So I got
food voucher.
I got $300 worth this year.
Oh, well, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. Well, I mean, listen, the team has been terrible. Like, well, your entire tenure as a season ticket holder, they've been garbage. So
yeah, we just had the first Stanley Cup final in 11-12. Then we missed the playoffs for like 6-7 years. Went to the playoffs in 17-18.
Yeah,
and surprisingly,
you got
I saw that invoice. If we made it all the way to the Cup, I only would have paid like $1,400 for the whole playoff.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Because
that's not bad.
The two Tampa Bay games, I only paid like $33 a ticket.
Well, that's when you make out too, is the playoff games, because I remember back in 2012, the game against the Rangers, Game 6, I paid $220 for that, and then the Cup final game was $180 per. So these are very expensive tickets.
Yeah.
So that's when you make out. When you have a consistent playoff team, you make that's when you make out. In the if you're the Penguins and you have season tickets for the Penguins, you're going to be paying much less than someone would be on the secondary market. And even they sell the playoff strips too, but you get a discount on that as well.
Yeah, well, even if we went to the Cup in 17-18, I think I would have paid like $60 per ticket. So that was pretty good.
No, that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely really good.
All right,
that's what it makes out.
Yeah. So before we conclude in like 10 minutes or so, I want a year by year. You don't have to give me like the whole prediction or what. You could just say where you think we finish. So obviously we know where we are this year, but I want to do like a 5-year plan. So where do you see us starting in 23-24? No, wait, 22-23, 23-24, 24-25, 25-26, and 26-27. Where do you see us in a year by year basis?
I think next year, that people will be fired if they are not, at the very least, in it until the last day of the season. I think next year, I'm trying to look at. You got to hope that some of these teams start to fall off. I've been holding on to the hope that Washington and Pittsburgh would eventually fall off. It doesn't look like they're ready to do that just yet. Carolina is a buzzsaw. The Rangers have a lot of good players. They have some youth too. Boston may start to slow down at some point.
Yeah, they should.
They should slow down at some point.
Washington's looking like they're.
I'm not big on.
Washington's looking like
they're
falling off.
A little bit. They're starting to slow down a little bit. Columbus, I don't think has star power. I think they're just always a tough out. Trying to see, Boston could start falling off at some point now that Bergeron's getting up there. But then they're gonna have teams that are gonna fill in because Detroit is starting to pick it up. Buffalo has had a lot of draft capital after the last couple of years,
and they're looking
Ottawa's
good lately.
Ottawa is going to bring in a lot of guys. I mean, Buffalo. Yeah, exactly. Buffalo's been better than Devils this year. That's crazy.
Who would have thought?
So, who would have thought? Yeah. So, I think the Devils need to be, like I said. I mean, I'll make a prediction of they're going to be 8th, as in just sliding into the playoff picture. I think after that, that's when you're going to start seeing them compete for that 2-3 spot. I do think that we could, towards the end of the years that you gave, could be competing for the top in the Metropolitan. But I definitely think that next year, at a minimum, I think you need to be in the playoff. You need to be fighting for a playoff spot until the last day. And then after that, after next year, I think that you need to be pretty consistently fighting for the top 3 spots in the division, which I think they will be able to do. Because in 2 years, Pittsburgh and Washington theoretically should be pretty, should eventually start falling apart a little bit. The only team in our division, which is Carolina, the Rangers, Pittsburgh, Washington, Columbus, the Islanders, New Jersey, Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia has way too much to do. I think they have way too many holes. The Islanders are only getting older. Columbus doesn't really have star power. Washington is going to start breaking down eventually. Hopefully Pittsburgh will as well. It's going to be Carolina and the Rangers that we're going to be fighting with. I think that those are the 3 teams that we should be competing for the division with after next year. I don't think we're going to be there next year. But the year after, as in the 23-24 season, that should be the beginning of us competing consistently for the top in the division.
I agree. I think that should be where we should be sitting at. Yeah.
Depending on what the Devils do next year, I think it's possible that it's going to be playoffs or bust for them. If they don't make the playoffs, then I think you might I don't know what they're going to do with Ruff yet. If they do bring him back for some reason next year, I think if they don't make the playoffs, he's going to be gone.
I think so.
I probably would make going another direction anyway, personally. But I think if they don't make the playoffs next year, then you're probably looking at coach and you're probably looking at general manager too.
Again,
well, happens. But I think at that point, there's been so much losing here. If the owners have any spine and, they gave a damn about the team, you probably have to start looking at moving some management positions around if they don't make the playoffs or if they're not fighting. If they're in the spot that they are in now next year, there's going to be a wholesale change in the organization.
All right, so let's do an over-under next year. Who will have more wins, the Buffalo Sabres or the New Jersey Devils?
I'm going to go with the Devils because I think that Buffalo, while they will have a really good team eventually, I think that some of our top players are going to be more ready to go than theirs. So I will say the Devils will be a better team next year.
Who wins the Stanley Cup first, the New Jersey Devils or the New York Rangers?
I mean, I'm going to say the Devils because I'm never going to admit that they're going to win a cup.
Yeah, neither will I.
I mean, I did have them as my sleeper cup team this year. That's looking pretty good.
Yeah, you did. I remember that.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, because with the Rangers, they have a lot of good players. They obviously have Fox, they have Shesterkin, they have Panarin, and they have Zibanejad, and some of their younger players are looking pretty good. But their 2 main ones, Lafreniere and Capo, you can't whiff on those kind of players. And Capo, I think is, I'm not going to throw him in the trash, but I don't see a top 6 player there. Lafreniere, I'll give 1 more year. I think that. He should be performing better than he is because, everyone got on Jack for not, being a house on fire when he got into the league. And Lafreniere is only, I think, 4 months younger than him and a much bigger body. They might have whiffed on those guys. I don't know. I have more hope for Lafreniere than Capo, but it'll depend. If Shesterkin keeps it, you know how it goes. If hot goaltending can win you a Stanley Cup. So for the Rangers this year, at the very least, I think if Shesterkin has 3 or 4 not so great games, they could lose the series.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think they're very reliant on.
We
on
saw it
goaltending.
last Tuesday against the Devils.
Yeah, he's been a little shaky lately. I mean, he kind of picked it up in the last week, but for a couple games prior to around that Devils game, the game before, a couple games before that, his save percentage was in the I think the high 90s, so it went down a little bit. I think the Devils took him out of the Hart conversation, to be honest.
I think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was such a great game. It was 2-0, and the atmosphere felt like a playoff game because you're walking around walking around the arena. You could barely get through because it's packed.
It's packed with Raiders fans too,
yeah.
And then I think the Devils fans are usually pretty offended when the Devils are bad and the Rangers are good. So obviously, I mean, listen, it sucks that this is the case, but that's our playoff win for the year is beating the Rangers in the regular season, which is unfortunate, but that's where
it's
we're
unfortunate,
at,
but that's my playoffs. So
yeah, that's our playoffs. So you're gonna get up for it and you're gonna be loud for it.
But yeah, it was.
That's where I want to go. That's where I want to go next week because
Yeah, it was great.
Listen, the Rangers are those games. Those are the best games to go to back in the mid to late 2000s. I mean, those were awesome to go to.
Especially May 25th.
What was that?
Especially May 25th.
Yeah, you're gonna post that online again. The 10th anniversary of living in the past.
Yeah, well, I watch every playoff game.
Oh God.
So starting, I think April 10th, I'm gonna watch every game of 2012.
We need to be watching some actual Devils playoff.
Yeah, we do. Hopefully, it's the start soon. But yeah, back to my point on Tuesday, it was great because you would. I mean, it wasn't great for me because you would get up, you would be like, "Let me get something to eat." You would see the lines are packed, so I tell Matt Freitas, I'm like, "Good luck to me. I'll go back later." I never got my food, so it was pretty busy. But it was so great. Every time we scored, you should have seen how everyone just stood up, cheered. It was so loud. It felt like 2007, 2018 when we made the playoffs. That's how great that game was and how great we played.
I think another combination too is that the guys that were scoring were the guys that are going to lead this team in the future. Jack had 2.
Yeah.
I think Jesper had 1. Did Nico have 1? Might have.
I think so. I think Jaeger had 1 too.
Oh, Mercer. Oh yeah, Jaeger had that snipe at the end of the second, and then Mercer had 1 too. Listen, a lot of the Devils' core was the reason why they won that game. A lot of the young core played really well that game. And listen, you're always going to get up for the Rangers games. I've always said the real Ranger fans go to the games at Prudential Center because it's affordable as opposed to the MSG. So that's good atmosphere. Those are always good games, no matter if the Devils are bad, if the Rangers are bad. They're always fun games. Definitely worth going to. And like I said, people are excited about the Devils. I mean, we have a legitimate all-star on our team in Jack. People are excited about the future of the Devils and playing a team like the Rangers that obviously Hayes rival. They're having a really good year. You love to see the Devils, play well against them.
Oh, I can't wait for Tuesday. I had people laughing because I started chanting Marty's better after the 4th goal.
Marty's better?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, that was like a Marty versus Lundqvist thing. I think that they got to retire that one, I think.
Yeah, but still, Marty's going to be better than any other Ranger.
Well, Marty's going to be better than any other goalie.
Yes, he is. The GOAT. Got us 3 cups. Yeah, you won't see that again where a goalie plays 75+ games. That's
which
Marty.
is probably why it's unlikely that his record ever gets even close to. I don't think that. I mean, you look at Fleury. Fleury was on the Penguins for all those years, and he just got to, what did he just get, 500 this year?
I think he's at 515.
Yeah, he's at 515. He's not going to touch 692. He's not going to get anywhere near that.
Yeah, he's not.
He's, what is Fleury, 36, 37?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he's the last of the generation that played all these games, too.
See, it's going to be hard for anyone to break that record. I don't care.
It's going to be hard for anyone. And then you think about Marty. If there was no ties and he missed a year to the lockout, he had an injury. Like Marty would have had 800 wins.
And it's different. A lot of these goalies that come up, they're like 24, 25, 26, maybe 23.
Yeah, that's
Marty came up. He was what, 20?
Yeah, he was drafted in 1991 as an 18-year-old, and then his first full year was the 93-94 season. So yeah, he was 21, I believe.
Yeah, nothing like Martin Brodeur.
Yep, definitely.
I wish he won the cup in 2012, but you know.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
Definitely.
Well, the fans got the cup, so we got.
What was that?
The fans got the cup though when we beat the Rangers, so that was our Stanley Cup.
That's not our Stanley Cup. Please stop saying.
No, that's what
that just makes us look so bad.
That's what Marty said. I mean,
listen.
He's like, for the fans, that's their Stanley Cup.
No, that was big. That was beating the Rangers was big, but it would have been so much more impactful if we would have won the cup that year, because the Rangers could always say like, oh yeah, you beat up like that. I think that was the best Rangers team. I think that they had a really legitimate shot at beating the Kings if we didn't beat them. That was probably the Rangers' best team. So, we were able to win. Unfortunately, we weren't able to. The Kings were bad out of hell that year. I think any other team we were going to beat in the entire.
Yeah, the Coyotes.
Oh well, that would have been. The NHL probably would have just canceled the Stanley Cup Finals at that point.
Well, Game 1 went to overtime. Game 2 went to overtime. Game 3 sucked. Game 4 we won. Game 5 we won, and then Game 6 that we know. Yep. But the future is bright. That's all I gotta say. We got Hughes, Bratt. Hopefully, we hoist another one.
And we're opening up the window now. I mean, the Devils at that point we had an older Eliash, Parise and Kovalchuk were in their late 20s at that point. Parise was 27. I think Kovalchuk was 28. Marty was older. Eliash was older. So that was a veteran team. So we have a young team now that should compete for many years.
Oh, I can't wait, Orson. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully we get to see a cup.
Yeah, that would be nice.
And that means you get to renew and come back.
Yeah, I might have to do it at that point, right?
Yep, or give it a shot. If we make the playoffs and go on a run, get playoff tickets, and then be like,
that for sure I'll do. I'll always go to playoff games.
Yeah, who doesn't love the playoffs, especially when it's your favorite team and it's loud and everyone's there cheering.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, thanks, Orson. Always a pleasure. I'll talk to you soon.
Yep, see you later.
All right, take care. That was Orson Schoenig on the Doug Saravo Show, which is brought to you by Stutz Betting. Bet like Michael Lepore. We'll see you guys next time. Today is March 31st. Tomorrow is April 1st. And baseball will be starting within the next few days. Can't wait. Take care and God bless. I just got to read this first. Thank you for supporting the Doug Saravo Show, Saravo Broadcasting, and all those involved with Saravo Broadcasting. We appreciate you guys. So what is this, Mikey?
Can you see it? Put it up to...
Let's put it up by the camera.
Can everybody see it?
Wait, move it back. Oh, number 38, Lepore. That's you.
I was in the locker room with with 3 Hall of Famers.
No, that's customized. That's all.
Oh, I know. And listen... All right, I'm going to give people... No, that's for the pen.
Oh, yeah, that's for the pen.
No, they got to be more for the Razor...
16-1.
16-1, that's not bad.
Mike, what do you think about your Chargers this past season?
They stay. I'm sorry.
All right, thank you, Mike.
So what do you think of the city today?
It's nice, but a little bit nicer than the other ones. No, I like that fact that it only cost me 16 12 hours.
12.
Well, bucks.
This is great. Now you're gonna make us some food.
No.
Yeah, there's stuff in your fridge.
Pie.
Should have brought the pie. Next time I'll go. I'll get it. Yeah, this is a great show. But yeah, you do have some leftovers in your fridge. I think it's time for dinner for you and I. Some in the fridge. Should we get the camera? All right, Mike. Any final thoughts for the audience? Myself.
It's been very entertaining. Hopefully, my picks come through and people can make a little money, stuff like that. Have a one. Enjoy your football season. And go bolt up, everybody.
There he is, everyone. That was Michael Lepore, otherwise known as the Bolt. No more Stutz. The Bolt. That's his name. What a show, Mike. Thank you for coming on.
Don't listen to these picks. You lose all your money. Trust me. Jaguars. If they win the division, I'll stop watching football.
I just want to try on this jersey you got me. You know, what can I say? I'm a Giant fan, but...
Bolt up? Bolt up?
Hold up.
Man of many nicknames. We got... All right, you don't want to be called Stutz. What about produce? I know produce. We're gonna go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. I love you, Mikey.
There you go. He's officially a Charger fan.
No.
If the Chargers win, I get lifetime pizza in his pizzeria. The Chargers won, so I love his pie. Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to everyone.